Thank you. And actually, I will make as an aside, when I'm not the Green Party candidate, I'm the chair of the Harvard Village Residents Association, just across Spadina and running south from Bloor. And I've organized 3 or 4 debates, and we've struggled with the issue of how to include fringe individuals and fringe representatives of fringe parties or small parties. Fringe is a derogatory word. Let's eliminate that word. And I went to a fabulous debate. Just a quick aside here. I went to a fabulous debate in the mayoralty race last year, organized by the Toronto Public Space Committee. And what they did was, because there were 30 candidates running for mayor, 3 or 4 well-known ones, but there were 23 others. And what they did was they invited every mayoralty candidate to come up for 2 minutes first before they had the regular debate. It was and then turned to the audience who had ballots to vote 2 of those candidates onto the island or onto the platform for the main debate. So, and I came back to our board and said, this is the formula, because it's much more democratic. It still allows people to hear the parties they mainly want to hear or the candidates they mainly want to hear. But if people in the audience are mostly libertarian, we would vote the libertarian on as to be part of it. If people are mostly interested in, say, what Guy has to say, representing the Socialist Party, Guy would be part of the debate. It's a democratic way of enlarging the circle, and that's what we're committed to doing here in downtown Toronto at the very least. I found things to agree and disagree with all the fellow candidates, but I do want to quickly sort of skirt a bunch of these issues. I have a long history with nuclear power. I taught for 13 years opposite the 8 nuclear reactors, and after 3 Mile Island I was very involved in starting the anti-nuclear power movement in this province. I really liked your point about insurance, just recently about nuclear. What's happened, the reason why we have 50% of nuclear power in Ontario is because what we didn't say, as in government after government, was that to all the bidders for nuclear power plants, is you have to absorb the cost overruns. That's right. So bidders put in lowballed their bids, and the politicians were able to say with a straight face, this looks really cheap. And then, of course, a $3 billion project became a $12 billion project. But the other subsidy is just what you rightly mentioned. And last year, the California Energy Commission, which draws electricity, which is where the electricity has the highest rates in all of North America, did a whole bunch of studies on each of the technologies. And the question they asked with nuclear is, what would it cost if we asked private operators to insure their nuclear power plants? Well, the study basically found that it would be equal to the cost of building and operating a nuclear power plant. And I called up a colleague at Greenpeace and said, how does that translate for you? And he said it's 15 cents a kilowatt. Well, let's step back a little second. George Smitherman, who ran for mayor, was energy minister beforehand, and he did one thing that no energy minister in Ontario had ever done 3 years ago when he called for bids for new nuclear plants. He said, only submit a bid that shows that you're going to include the cost overruns. Well, all the private companies failed to submit any bids. The only bid, and you're right on this point, was the Atomic Energy Control Board, the federal crown corporation that's now being privatized because it's desperate. Anyways, George Smitherman opened the envelope of the only bid he got and never revealed the price, and put the envelope back down and went to the federal government and said, we need you to accept the cost overruns, will you do it, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way the debate is stated. But we determined from that basically nuclear power, if we're including the cost overruns, which are always there, is really 20 cents a kilowatt. Now, Guy might not like the subsidies that the Green Energy Act rightly pays to commercialize each green energy technology, but we pay 15 cents for wind. We pay 80 cents for solar electricity, just that one, and that price will come down, and it's definitely coming down because it's being commercialized. The prices of panels are coming down now that we've made those kind of investments. We are in favor of a carbon tax. You're going to see that in the pamphlet that I passed out. I described that. It's the same carbon tax that that British Columbia has. It's $10 a ton. It's a very modest carbon tax. And really, a carbon tax is about one of the tools that you use to deal with greenhouse gas emissions. The bigger tools are really about land use planning and how you create transit-friendly communities around subway stops, go transit stops, etc., rather than parking lots. And if we had more time, and hopefully our questions will get us into that, I'm the transit critic of the party, for the Green Party. I'd like to share with the strategies one does to dramatically cut greenhouse gas emissions through better land use planning. Thank you.